5.5. Now again, not CS 5.5, but 5.5, the original, which was about 8 years ago or so. The history brush did something for us. It gave us multiple undos. And if you go up to the word Photoshop on the pull-down menu on a Mac, or Edit if you're at Windows, and go to Preferences, we do know if you go into Performance Preferences that you have the ability to change your history states up to 1000 if you want to do that. I set mine to about 50 and I'm more than happy with that. The history brush itself works in keys off of steps. If we click here, that's where it is. If you don't see history, you can go up to the word window and go down to history right there. It tells me the first thing I did was open the image. I think most of you know this. If I come over and pick up something like a paintbrush tool and begin doing something, each one of those is considered a separate step. And if I wish I had not done that, I can go backward in time. We do want to remember, though, that history is not saved with the document, so you want to be careful if you close an image with things you don't like. Then, in practical terms, when you reopen the image, it would be too late to use history. But I'm not concentrating on that. We've talked about this. I'm talking about this up here called a snapshot. When you open up the document for the first time, the computer takes a photograph, a snapshot of the image, the way it existed when it was first opened, right now. You can be working on this image for an hour or two, and then decide you wish you had not done something, and you can click this button anytime you want, and the image will be returned to the way it looked, the way it was first opened. A lot of people know that. A lot of people also know this. If I go up to, say, for example, image adjustments and go down to something like desaturate, a lot of people know if you've used the program that I can pick it up, and here it is, the history brush, and come back over into the image and begin painting. And what it does is it restores the image based on the original snapshot. And again, that's probably pretty common knowledge, but that's pretty cool to know, because I could desaturate the image and then say, for example, colorize just the bird by using very careful strokes. But anytime I want to go back to the original, I can click right here, and there you go. We can take our own snapshots, and to me, that's where the power of the brush comes in. For example, let's do this. Let's go back to image, and let's go down to adjustments and go into desaturate. Take a photograph now. This little camera icon right here. Smile! You've got your own snapshot. Let's go ahead and name that grayscale. Why not? Let's do another one. But this time, before we go in and do something else, let's go back and return the image back to full color. And let's see what trouble we can get into if we go into, say, filter, and let's go into blur, and let's do just a plain old Gaussian blur to the image. Now let's see what we can get into here. Let's make it, well, I don't know, maybe something like that. Click OK. Take a snapshot. Smile. We'll call this one blur, because that's what it is. As you can see, we can do this all day long. Let's do one more. But this time, before we start, let's go ahead and go back up to the original and go into, say, Filter Gallery. And in Filter Gallery, we can go into, say, something fun. Like maybe even this one right here. Let me go ahead and take that down so we can see it better. That looks kind of interesting. Let's go ahead and just leave that. Click OK. And take another snapshot. And that one, I believe, was stained glass. Just like that. Now, why am I doing these? Because the power of the history brush is not just its ability to repaint parts of the image back in the way they looked. We can use it with snapshots to do just about anything we want. For example, maybe we want, let's say we want the image to look blurred. Let's try that one first. And what I want to do is I want the bird in focus. Well, we already know that this is what it's going to paint, but why is it painting from that snapshot? It's because this icon that you see right here is located next to the word bird. Now, I would suggest creating a new layer. You don't have to do this, but it's, makes sense. So in a new layer, we're going to paint back the original bird. just like this. Again, drawing tablets at this point can really help. But if you don't, just put your finger on that mouse and start going around that image. If you go too far, if you get too much, you can erase it because it's in a separate layer. So we might, I don't know, we might do something like that. Have everything out of focus except the bird. I want to start all over. So we go into stained glass. That's kind of a neat one. But now I'd like to paint the bird back in grayscale. So let's create a new layer. Don't click on grayscale. Click over here and move that icon down to here. The history brush now says, okay, when that photograph was taken, that snapshot, that's what I paint back. And if I come over here now, as you can see, I can begin painting back the bird, if I want to do it this way, in shades of gray. All you got to do is know that the snapshot is controlling the history brush. I find that really a lot of fun. Let's say we get done about like this. Get that little beak there and maybe a little bit of that fringe up here. So we have the bird in grayscale, and we have a stained glass kind of look to the background. And you know what? I want this thing he's sitting on, this fence post, just that one, to be original. So I can come over here, there's bird, click here, and come over here and maybe just paint that one back in as an original. Now I went a little bit too far, you'll notice. Now what we do is, if I want to get that back again, because I want that back into grayscale, is I come over here and come over to grayscale, select there, and just paint right back in again. This is the power of the history brush. Its ability to paint anything you want based on your creative imagination. On to the next.